There she is. What is going on, YouTube? We are at the gym right now, about to hit a leg day. First off, I just want to apologize for not posting in like 2 to 3 weeks, I think it's been. Not going to give you any excuses, just going to get it right into the video. We got no time for that, but basically just typical nonsense got in the way of doing the things I really want to do in life. So that's pretty typical. No time to talk about that. We only have time to work out. That's all we got time to do now. So I believe I made a leg day video. But this was more quad focused, my previous leg day video. So I took you guys through how I squat and how I hit leg extensions. This is my second version of legs. It's my second leg day, actually. So I have like 2 leg days that alternate between. One's quad focused, one's hamstring focused. So it's basically a squat day and a hinge day. I kind of base my days off movement patterns. That's a very common thing for personal trainers to do. It's like a scientific method behind your training. But anyways, so today I'm going to show you guys how I deadlift. I'm going to take you through what a deadlift day looks like for me on a cut. Now, yes, I am still cutting. I think I mentioned that in my previous videos. So if you guys think I'm looking weak, or if, the weight's moving slow, feel free to call me out. Don't hesitate. I'm not where I want to be strength-wise right now, once again, because I am cutting. Not trying to give excuses, just like, giving you an explanation as to how everything's going on. But I was about 168 when I ended the bulk in late June. I pulled 455 as my world rep max when I was 168. I can pull that, put it on the screen right now. But yeah, and then I'm trying to get to my lifetime deadlift goal would probably be 600 pounds. Would like to do that below 160 or above 160. Below 160, actually. I know that's like ridiculous, but I have a lot of goals that I put on myself, especially in powerlifting. The way I actually got into deadlifting, they taught us how to squat and bench in high school football. I played football in high school, but they never taught us how to deadlift, and my squat was really good. So when I was 17, I squatted 345 at like 155 body weight, and I was like, oh shit, like I'm not too bad at this. But then no one ever taught me how to deadlift, so I started watching a bunch of YouTube videos. David Lade. David Lade is literally what got me into deadlifting. Not to sound like a fanboy, but seeing his videos, I was like, kind of like, I don't know, man. It was like being like a 16-year-old boy and or a 17-year-old boy, and seeing that just kind of made me like super motivated. Like I just got this like urge to work out that I never had before. So I was like, dude, like I'm gonna focus on the deadlift. And all my friends were like, that's stupid, why do you get a deadlift? Like all my friends just wanted to focus on like mass and like growth, so bodybuilding, right? But like I just really cared about strength, and like none of my friends did. So because of that, actually motivated me to train strength more, because like, oh, I was like, no one else is doing this, so like I can get to deadlift like 450 pounds, and like everyone's gonna be like, oh my god. That was my mindset at the time. I believe I started out doing sumo, which for those of you who don't know, sumo is when you have your hands in between your legs on the bar and your legs are spread apart. But conventional is what I consider to be the more true form of deadlifting. Now, I'm not going to say it's a fact. I'm not going to say like you should only do conventional, you should only do sumo. You should do what you want to do. However, I would consider conventional to be like the base form of deadlifting. I'm not really going to tread any further into this topic because I don't want to be controversial or negative on this channel. But me, myself, I pull conventional. And as I said before, the most I've ever pulled conventional was 455, about 168 body weight, like this past summer. But my lifetime deadlift goal is definitely 600 pounds. I'm going to try to surpass 500 this winter. It's going to be a very, very intense power bulk. That's what I like to call it. It's going to be a war to try and get that number. But right now, probably going to work around with like 315, anywhere between 315, 405. See how I feel. I'm going to do sets of triples, which is 3 sets of 3 is what that is, powerlifting term. But yeah, so going to take you through the whole workout. It's going to be brutal. I'm really hoping that my lack of eating this morning doesn't come to harm me throughout the workout, because all I had was like literally a packet of oatmeal because I was so excited to shoot this video. I haven't given you guys a good one in like weeks, so it's got to come out. But let's go kill this pump. I got some DMA on me today. For those of you who don't know, it's a pretty strong workout stimulant. It's going to help us deadlift. I like to take DMA when I deadlift because deadlifting is like the most taxing movement of all movements, in my opinion. So if you have any questions about deadlifts, feel free to DM me on Instagram or leave a comment in the video or anything at all. I could talk about deadlifts probably for hours on end. So today we're going to deadlift dumbbell RDLs, and we are going to kick ass on some hamstring curls, and we're just going to do some cardio in the end. I'm going to take you guys through what a typical deadlift day looks like for me on a cut. I'm really excited to get into this. Hamstrings are about to be murdered, but yep, Let's get into it. Let's kill it. Let's go deadlift. What's up, YouTube? Now, first thing I want to say, though it might seem a bit irrelevant, is I'm not a fan of the blue bumper plates you see here. I love Snap Fitness with all my heart, but not quite understanding this decision. But anyways, that's irrelevant. Starting the workout with the eccentric band warm-up. Now, I do this for squats, upper body. Doesn't really matter what I'm doing. I just do it to prime my body for whatever it is I'm about to do. Wanted to get a cinematic shot of 135 on the bar so you guys can see how it's looking. Now, there's a lot that I know about deadlifts that I'm very eager to share, so I'm just going to try to speak as much knowledge as I can throughout the video, so bear with me if it kind of just ends up being a mess, but I'm going to try my best. Now here you can see me stretch my arms out. This is basically to make my lats as tight as possible along with my hamstrings. Basically the idea here is to get all the muscles in my posterior chain as tight as possible. My hamstrings, my glutes, my traps, my latissimus dorsi is the scientific name for your lat. And also here, if you notice, I'm not really deadlifting. I'm just doing RDLs to kind of get blood flow into my hamstrings. This is kind of what the principle of what I believe to get a good lift is. You're going to want to just get blood flow to that muscle. 135 RDLs are a really easy way for me to do that, and you can find the same for yourself. Alright, so here we got the first set with 135 touch and go, which is a very fast style of deadlifting, very popular for the warm-up. Now, if there's anything you need to take away from this video, it's the concept behind pulling the slack. Essentially, there is a gap between the bar and the plate that you put on the barbell. Now, if the barbell is not right up against the plate before you start pulling, this is going to stop your momentum and hence you will not be as strong. I put in a 3D animation to highlight the muscles of the posterior chain so you guys can get a good idea what muscles should be tight during a movement. Now, going back to what I said earlier in regards to pulling the slack, you're going to want your shins right up against the bar. This will allow you to brace and pull the bar right up against the top of the plates, allowing you to just shoot up. So there's not going to be any gap in between the barbell and the plate that's going to stop you from your momentum. If you think about it, that's like a force, you know, if it hits an object, it's going to stop your momentum. So basically this will allow you to shoot up as fast as you possibly can. All this power and all this tension is going to load up in your hamstrings and it's just going to rip the bar right up. I want you to imagine like a metal spring with someone's hand on top of it, and the moment they take their hand off of it, it just shoots right up. That's basically a metaphor for your hamstrings, glutes, and your other posterior chain muscles. Now, I don't really know if you guys can tell, but I was drenched throughout this video. Deadlifting is gonna make you soaked regardless, but you know, the hoodie, the joggers, I was just swamped. It was a nightmare, to be honest, but taking the hoodie off felt really good. As you can see, we're looking pretty good, not too bad. Definitely got an arm pump on deadlift day, which is very interesting. All that tension in my forearms from holding the bar most likely, but doing a front lat spread, you know, trying to get the sweat out of my face. But yeah, definitely looking pretty juicy. Putting the belt on, about to rip the first set of 345. Now, I did say I was going to do triples with this. Ended up getting way too carried away, and I'm not even sure how many sets I did looking back, but this is the first set I did. I do use straps anytime I'm doing volume, which is like a high amount of reps. That's all that means, is I'm going to use straps. However, when I do singles, I try to use chalk, preferably liquid chalk. But yeah, so the straps really help you load more weight and they force more weight. And in order to get stronger, you really need to force your body through more weight. If you kind of just stick in the same weight with the same reps, you're never really going to see any progress. You really need to force your body through progressive overload. Also, I would like to apologize for some of these angles. I did my best to get my full body in, but after the fact, I noticed that my head or top half of my body was cut off, so I just want to apologize for that. This is the second set of unknown. Yeah, you guys can tell me at the end of the video how many sets I did, but honestly, looking back, I probably could have did 365 or even 375, 385 maybe for triples, but I don't know, I just kind of want you guys as the viewers to get a very clear picture of what the form is supposed to look like, because deadlifting is the most complicated movement I believe there is to learn, especially in the view of a beginner. Okay, so this is the third set I did. Now, I mentioned earlier in the video, all I had before this was about a cup of oatmeal, which is about 60 grams of carbs. Despite that, and me being on a cut weighing at about 152 this morning, now I say that so you guys can get a perspective of how much I'm lifting, 345, and relative to me, and how much I weigh, 152. But despite all of that, I was actually shocked with how fast it was moving. And yeah, I'm really excited to continue strength training again. It only made me that much more hyped to return to powerlifting. I can't wait to see what I'm going to be lifting. But yeah, it was very light today, I'm not going to lie. I personally believe I will be able to pull 500 at or below 160. Not trying to sound arrogant at all or any way, but deadlifting, there's such a thing called biomechanics, and what essentially this means is your genetic proportions and your, certain factors of you, your height, your limbs and how far they are from your body, your wingspan, your muscle proportions. These factors will give you a genetic advantage in certain lifts. And so because of my height and range of motion, I do believe that this is where I excel in the deadlift. To further expand upon that idea, I would say that I have pretty long arms for my height, and combine that with the amount of muscle in my legs, I would say that's pretty much a perfect storm for a deadlift compulsion disorder, or in other words, a severe passion, otherwise liking for deadlifts like the way I have them. Yeah, I would definitely say it's rare to enjoy deadlifts the amount that I do. Bench is definitely more mainstream, and I would say that's because of like the stigma behind an injury, but as long as you do your form correctly, you're not going to get injured, don't worry. Other than pulling the slack, the most important thing to remember is that if the moment you feel tension in your back, your lower back specifically, the weight is too heavy, okay? So you need to feel the tension in your hamstrings the whole time. Imagine like a rubber band from your ankle all the way to the top of your glute, and this is what's being stretched as you do the reps, as you pull the weight up. So I also want you to imagine your legs as like rods that push the earth down. Don't necessarily imagine you pulling the weight up, just imagine your heels to like push through the earth, and this is gonna drive the weight up towards you. This is also going to allow you to fire your hips, which is going to help you on the lockout as well. And I believe this is the last set of 315, thank God. Yeah, I was really feeling it by here. That's why I'm using the straps for 315. Please don't, roast me alive here. But yeah, I'm doing the 315 for the final set. I try to do a burnout here with this, but essentially I'm trying to become so strong in my next strength training phase that I make 405 look like this, as you see here. So I want to make 405 look like 315, and if I can make that happen, then I'll definitely be able to pull 500 within November, December or so. I definitely believe I'm going to be able to do that at 160. I'm going to document the whole process, so make sure you stick around so you guys can see that. I've been working out for quite some time now, however, that doesn't excuse the decision I made of wearing a hoodie and joggers while deadlifting. If you are going to do the same, know that it is not a good decision. And yeah, I just don't even want to talk about it really. But anyways, moving on. Here is a 405 at my best. I believe I was 165 here. This pull was in January or so. And then this was a 405 set I did in April, right before I started cutting, in the high 160s once again. I think I went for a third rep here, and I didn't get it. But yeah, I just wanted to show those clips to show that yes, at one point I was a lot stronger. However, as a natural, you're gonna sway up and down the spectrum a ton. I kind of call it like yo-yo. There's yo-yo dieting, and there's also like yo-yo training, because you're gonna get, as a natural, you're gonna get really, really strong and really full and feel, kind of like the Man of Steel all the time. When you're like strength training, or when you're bulking, when you're eating at a surplus, the diet's gonna, really set the energy levels between each other. But anyways, yeah, but when you're cutting as a natural, even though you might really be happy with your appearance, you're definitely not gonna feel as energized or as strong for sure as you were when you were bulking or eating at a deficit consistently. Now here we are moving on to the RDLs. Now I believe I did a set with 60s just to get some blood flow before this, and here we are, we have the 90s. Now I usually don't even do 90s, I usually only do 80s. I don't know what was going on with me today, something in DMA, but yeah, I did the 90s and it was actually very light. So after this set, I was like, dude, I think I'm gonna do the hundreds. But when you do the RDLs, a good cue to try and remember to do the form correctly is I want you to think of closing the car door with your butt. I know that might sound funny, I know that might sound a little weird, but if you can kind of think of closing the car door with your butt, or really just like using your butt to like close things, or like, basically force a door closed. I just want you to get that principle in your head. Then you'll really only feel the tension and the engagement in your hamstrings, which is where you should only feel it while doing RDLs. And as you can see here, I did go for the hundreds, and they were definitely moving. So something was in the water that day in my pre, or either I was just really eager to go off on hamstrings for a YouTube video, because I believe it was a while before I went heavy throughout the cut on hamstrings, and so for this video I thought it would be a perfect combination to do it with. But yeah, it was a good set for sure. I got the forearm beams bursting. I really like to wear a tight like short sleeve on leg day, mostly because it makes me feel really athletic and ready to go. But yeah, this is the next set with the hundreds. I really like to do the RDLs in this area of the gym. It's very desolate. No one really bothers me over here. Also, it's the best area for the shots. It's also the best lighting in the gym for sure. I don't know if you guys have noticed this area of the gym in my previous videos, but this is typically where I go to pose or do like a physique checkup, because I just want to see, you know, the pump to its best, most possible potential, you know what I mean? And that's what this lighting in this environment does at the Snap Fitness. But yeah, it got really bad towards the end. I literally had to stop because I was almost worried I was gonna pull something in my back. So also, if you're gonna do RDLs, depending on how heavy you're gonna go, you should definitely wear a belt, because this position, or this movement rather, puts you in a very vulnerable position in regards to your lower back, and we do not want to have any injuries whatsoever. So you want to have a sturdy belt if you're going to go really heavy like I am. And I would say the rep range for like a difficult RDLs, you're going to want to stay into like 8 to 10. I feel like when it comes to volume in RDLs, anything beyond 10 is just a little too much, because it's such an intense movement, and you know, it's a pretty for most people, it's a pretty sensitive muscle group that's going to be hard to really expose in the beginning. So just do like 10 heavy intense reps. And here we are again, checking out the pump, and I believe my arms are looking not too bad over here. Doing a quick vacuum here for you. Got that out of the way. But the music, noise cancellation headphones are actually going to make your workout a killer. Fun fact, science has shown that music improves performance 75 to 80%. So the proof is there, the proof's in the pudding. It does make a difference, but the legs are actually looking really good. For a hamstring day, the quads are looking pretty sick, I must say. Did a quick double bi right there, but I really like, you know, seeing how the physique's looking, especially during the cut. You really gotta evaluate, you gotta be your own worst judge. And I would honestly say, the point that I want to make is, I feel like a lot of people say it's a bad thing to be your own worst judge. However, no one's going to be honest with you as honest as you are going to be with yourself. So that's just something to remember. And here I went for the 80s. I tried to pick them back up after failing them without the straps, and I kind of just like failed miserably. So I'm sorry you had to witness that just now. And this is the last set I did with the 80s. Now I did them with straps. Originally I wanted to do them without. However, we all saw how that went just now. But anyways, RDLs are a leg staple if you want to bring your deadlift up, if you want more aesthetic and more muscular legs, or if you're literally just trying to learn how to finally engage your hamstrings for the first time ever. You should definitely do RDLs, and while you're at it, you should sign up for Ultra Fitness too. I could give anybody aesthetic quads in 90 days or less, guaranteed. So if you're someone who's really serious about, you know, changing your legs specifically, you know, legs are a very sensitive topic in the fitness industry. I feel like a lot of people kind of avoid them. So if anybody has had difficulty learning how to develop muscle in their legs, or learning leg workouts in general, and they're very serious about, you know, exploding in their lower body department, I can help, no problem. I would actually honestly say that while intermediate lifters are very fun to work with, because you can do a lot, you know, with weights, and you can do a lot with modalities, like different type of workouts, different types of equipment, I would honestly say that beginners are even more fun, because there's nothing I love more than seeing someone fall in love with lifting the same way I did. This is the last workout I did of my hamstring day. It's just hamstring curls on a machine. Now, typically, I actually like the isolated, where you can do one at a time. However, Snap Fitness does not have that machine. If your gym does, though, I would say do that one over the double jointed with both legs. Do the single leg one instead, because you can get a better stretch, and that allows for more growth to occur, so hence more muscle. But anyways, we're going to use the regular hamstring machine here. I tried to get a multitude of different angles of me doing the hamstring curls. Let me know down in the comments if you guys like the variety of different angles that I try to usually do, or if you'd rather just have like, you know, 3 angles, or if there's just a category of angles that you like side view, frontal view, stuff like that. It's very important that the viewer sees the movement done from different angles, though. That way they can understand how it's supposed to feel. Because if you're not doing something, if you're not literally doing something, then visualizing it, it's going to be hard to translate that to mind muscle connection. But anyways, here I try to get at a bird's eye view so that you guys can see when I go down. So when I put my legs on the hamstring curl machine and I go for the eccentric portion of the lift, I try to squeeze at the bottom right there. What this will allow is to really send as much blood into the hamstrings as possible, hence creating the most growth the most hypertrophy. These are really killer, and also, if you're going to do hamstrings really intensely the way I am, you're definitely going to want to have an electrolyte source, because hamstring cramps are something you're going to want to avoid entirely. I do not wish that on anybody. I've had some very, very traumatic experiences, so you're going to want to have electrolytes on you on hand. Here we are in the Snap bathroom. Unfortunately, that's going to bring us to the end of today's workout. Only 3 movements, yes, I know. However, they are packed with intensity, and like I always say, intensity or go home. But anyways, the physique is looking pretty good. Like I said earlier, I'm weighing 152. I don't know what percentage body fat I am. You guys let me know what you think in the comments, but I'm feeling pretty lean, definitely really lean for the weight I was lifting today. But yeah, guys, if you aspire to do something you want to do in life, I want you to put all your effort to get it, because when all is said and done, when all is over, that's all you're going to think about. You're not going to think about what you did do. You're going to think about what you didn't do. At least that's how I am. So I'm trying to get as much as I can done in regards to what I want to do really in life, so that in the end, there's nothing further to think about other than what's ahead of me. You know what I mean? So reach out to Ultra Fitness. Application link in the bio for anyone to fill out. I would love to work with you and change your life. In order to have something you've never had before, you must do something that you've never done before. And with that, this is Liam Cannon, signing off. See ya.